Hey, what's going on everyone? It's Joe from Gadgetry Tech, and today's video is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be talking about a headphone show called CanJam, which is international now, and this was the first time I went to CanJam New York, which is definitely a different experience than the several CanJams I have attended in California. Instead of focusing solely on products, I thought it would be fun to make a video that focused on something different: the people. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that goes into a show outside of attendee hours, and there's so many factors at play as to what makes it a successful show. Everything has to align for it to be great. That includes some behind the scenes stuff as well, you know, the setup process, dealing with logistics, talking to exhibitors and things like that. Now there is a focus particularly on ZMF as a brand for this video because, you know, I can only fit so much into a single form factor, and this is going to be a mix of some show coverage, some experiences from the floor, but I also wanted to give you some insight into one of the exhibitors at a show like this. And in this particular video, that's ZMF. So throughout this video, I'll be interviewing some of their employees and talk to them to help you get to know them a little better, talk about their products, kind of showcase the whole vibe of what a show like this is all about. In addition to people, there's a lot of things that happen outside of attendee hours. It's not like as soon as the show starts, everyone's magically there. A lot of people are there hours before and after, and everything kind of has to align for the show to be a success. Now don't get me wrong, most of the coverage you'll see from the media will be about the products, and perhaps rightly so. The interaction of products, new models being constantly released, and the hype that surrounds that fuels the industry and is what draws people in. That doesn't mean people aren't important though. ZMF was kind enough to host me for a lot of this experience and give me kind of a sneak peek of what happens behind the scenes. So later I'll be talking to more of their employees. But one employee, his name is Steven. This is his first CanJam he's attended. He's actually a new employee. So of course, before the show kicked off, I wanted to chat with him and see what he had to say. So I have the newest member from ZMF. This is Steven. Steven, how did you join ZMF? What came to be for getting here?
Well, I joined about 6-7 months ago. I was not doing anything hi-fi related for a while. I used to work at a hi-fi shop in Chicago, but it was mostly you know, like bigger scale stuff, floor standers, bookshelf speakers, turntables, that kind of thing. Just, I don't know, playing guitar for most of my life, and then, you know, kind of getting interested in hi-fi a little bit later. Just kind of all culminated into like, I found ZMF and I was like, oh, this is like everything that I love about about music. So kind of worked out perfectly.
So as far as the show, this is obviously your first headphone show. What do you expect here? Are you nervous? You any experiences you're expecting to see?
I have like not low expectations, just like no expectations, I guess. This is kind of like a whole new world for me. I'm super excited to see like a bunch of tube amps. You know, really want to hear some more planars. I haven't really gotten a big chance to delve into that world too much. Dynamic from here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, hey, good luck, man. Thanks for your time. Yeah. Now later in this video, I'll touch base with Steven again to see how his first day went. But transitioning back to the show and ZMF actually has one of the largest listening rooms at the show because it's not just about their headphones, it's about all the other gear they bring with it. So much work precedes the show, including what gear to bring, setting up the music server, products to sell on the site versus leave behind, and even special accessories like cables and cases. Now ZMF, of course, isn't the only exhibitor there, and they all go through this same painstaking process of planning, prep, logistics, setup, and trying to provide you with the best possible experience. I mean, let's be real, a lot of these brands are here because they're trying to sell more products. They're trying to get you excited about their brand. And with that comes a lot of pressure. All right, so it's about a half hour before the show's gonna start, and we showed up here about 8:30, 9 o'clock. The show opens at 10, and it really takes like an hour or two each day for setup because not only are people taking the covers off things, there's reconnection of wires, cleaning the products, getting everything set up. There's a lot that goes on. These people work a good 12 hours a day for these shows, which is pretty insane. So yeah, pretty cool to see. I think another thing that's super cool is a lot of brands talk to each other. There's definitely no like animosity or, my stuff's better than yours. I'm seeing a lot of interaction between companies showing each other their cool stuff, and there's genuine interest in it, which is awesome because I think that's what the industry and the community needs. So that was something I didn't expect to see. Pretty awesome. Which again leads me back to my favorite thing about the show, the the people, because I love meeting fans for the first time. I love seeing exhibitors that I've worked with over the years, or have just made products that I've enjoyed over the years, and even running into familiar faces like content creators and people I've chatted with online. Now, even if you're new to the hobby or you attend one of these for the first time, I really suggest kind of coming out of your shell and chatting with people a little bit. The audio community is full of incredible people. I've met so many amazing people over the years. Even when my channel was smaller, I wasn't even known by anybody. I loved the people aspect of it, so give that a shot. But obviously we're all here because we are interested in the audio products and gear that we have for listening and enjoying music. And that's where the CanJam show is incredible as well, because there's literally thousands of audio products at your disposal under one roof. It's a really rare thing to be able to just go to any brand that you've ever heard of, perhaps a lot of brands you haven't heard of, just to try something new and experience it for the first time. Or you can head over to the headphones.com table and check out Pud's latest creations, such as the bass medallion, which is a literal punch in the gut, but in a good way. Plus it helps that Pud's a pretty cool guy in person. Now, I have some fond memories of various listening sessions I've done at these headphone shows, and a couple of them did come from the ZMF room. One of them was the ZMF Caldera, which I heard a couple years ago for the first time. Someone had left the song Identikit on from Radiohead, and if you've followed my channel for a long time, I've suggested that song and talked about that song a lot when reviewing some other gear. That was spawned from that special listening experience I had with that Caldera, which led to me purchasing one several months later because I just could not forget that experience. And then fast forward a year after that, when I had the Atrium Close that I was reviewing, and I plugged it into the Aegis amp, I didn't like the Atrium Close as much as at home. It didn't pair well or synergize with the amps that I had. Then I tried it on the Aegis amp and I'm like, oh my God, this is a whole nother experience. So naturally, I now have an Aegis amp that I purchased. And a lot of this came from being able to hear it at these shows instead of blind buying and hoping that that's what I was looking for. And it's places like the ZMF listening room that have so many factors at play to create this art of the demo, if you will, to make your listening experience as enjoyable and special as possible. To put more context into this, there's an employee named Kevin at ZMF that I've seen several years now at a lot of headphone shows because he helps with a lot of the demo process and helping customers listen to ZMF for the first time. So I pulled him aside to ask him what goes into that process.
Okay, so Kevin, I've seen you at a few shows now,
Yeah.
and one thing that stands out is I always see you helping people with demos and getting set up with gear. What do you think makes a good headphone demo, whether they've had experience or not?
What makes a good headphone demo? I mean, I kind of always start with like what they're listening to now or what kind of vibe they're like currently enjoying. And then at least in like a rough sonic spectrum perspective, try to be like, okay, well, if you're coming from like the HD 600 or something, here's like other ZMFs that like, well, you know, vastly different and stuff. Like there's some correlation of like some people like this kind of headphones, so I usually recommend that. But trying to get that baseline of like, all right, this is kind of the profile you dig. Yeah. So here's like the niche in the ZMF lineup that hopefully kind of caters to that like similar vibe kind of thing.
That's cool, because I always wondered, you know, how much of that comes down to, you know, pricing and ask him a question like, are you looking for a certain price range? But you guys focus more on the experience and the transition from what they have and what they're possibly looking for more than anything, right?
Oh, yeah, no, 100%. Because I mean, not that, you know, price point stuff isn't important and all that, but I mean, kind of more how we look at our lineup is like, obviously there's some price variation, but it's kind of more of a thing where like, that's just more based on what goes into the headphone, I guess. Like, something like the Atticus that's like super, super mid-bassy and really warm and lush and stuff. It's like, yeah, it's a lower priced headphone than some of our other stuff, but like maybe that's the right headphone for that person regardless of price point or anything else, you know? So like there's some correlation, but it's more about getting the right headphone to the right ears as opposed to like, because price doesn't always equal best fit for you or anyone else as like an individual, I guess.
And do you have a favorite headphone of the ZMF collection? What do you typically grab if you're just sitting at home jamming out?
Probably Atrium Open is what I keep going to the most. Just really wide sense of soundstage, imaging, space, and all, depth, all that kind of stuff. I'm a big sucker for, and the Atrium Open, I think, as well as our stuff, it does that kind of stuff really, really well. If you like that kind of really wide open space, diffuseness, airy kind of sound.
Yeah, I see a lot of people talking about that, and it's kind of like a recommended listen in general. If you haven't heard ZMF before, it's one of the top suggestions I've seen out there
to get that like really nice warm sound that's not so far out of the box, something that's kind of like a cozy listen. So
yeah, no, it's one of those where like if someone's like, I've never heard of ZMF before or something, that's usually one of the couple go-tos I at least start with, because it's kind of a good baseline and a good representation of the brand and what our stuff can do, and a good like starting point, I think.
Sweet. Well, hey, thanks, man. I appreciate your time.
Appreciate it, man.
Thanks.
This is what most people come here for at the end of the day. And whether it's searching for bass cannons or being taken on some musical journey, CanJam provides more melodic escapades per square foot than any place I've ever been to. There was one gentleman I saw in the ZMF room that was really jamming out with the Boca open, so naturally I had to pull him aside and ask what he was listening to.
All right, so I caught you bobbing your head over there. Yeah. So you were obviously listening to something good. What song were you playing?
I was listening to Free Nationals, which is like Anderson .Paak's band.
Yeah. There you go.
It was cool.
And have you heard a ZMF headphone before, or what brought you to this room?
I actually own ZMF Atriums.
You do?
Yes.
That's cool.
I don't own them yet. I just ordered them.
You just ordered them? Did you order them here at the show?
No,
or?
I ordered them probably like around Christmas time. So
nice.
They're still building them. I just got an email that they're coming. So
that's cool. So is that a blind buy for you, or did you order them because of other reviews, or you heard them?
Complete blind buy.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm
not pretty ignorant with my headphone.
There you go.
So
cool, man. Well, good luck. Thanks for coming, man. I appreciate your time. Yeah.
Hey, nice to meet you, brother.
That was kind of a funny coincidence, because you usually don't hear about blind buys at that price level, and it was odd that he was listening to a totally different headphone. Maybe he listened to the Atrium Open before to validate his purchase and I missed it, but either way, it was kind of cool just talking to random people. You can really get some fun stories out of it. Now, I do plan on doing a follow-up video to CanJam where I do talk about a few products that stood out that I liked, and I did interview a couple other people I bumped into on the floor, so keep an eye out for that if you want to see more. This was my first CanJam New York, and it was a very different experience than what I'm used to on the CanJam SoCal side. And I asked about CanJam Dallas too. Those are like the big ones, at least in the United States, that I'm aware of on attending. And the vibe is different. So CanJam New York is definitely the busiest feeling. And it's not just because of the show. It's the difference with New York is it's in Times Square. And you can step away from the show, and in the SoCal show, it's quiet. You're at a different Marriott, and there's really nothing else going on around the same time. So if you need more of a break and you're just trying to choose which CanJam to go to, CanJam SoCal is still busy enough where tons of exhibitors and people are there, but you can get a little bit of a break. That's obviously not the case as much in New York City. And then to make things even funnier, one level up, there was a live stream thing for like TikTokers. They had some special event or something like that. It was pretty funny to see. Of course, one thing New York has is Times Square. So if you're really looking to make the most out of your trip and you don't want just the audio experience, New York City is obviously where it's at. It's going to cost you a little bit more money between the stay and, at a hotel and all the travel expenses and food. But man, the nightlife is crazy. So if you go out and go for a walk, you're going to get some good memories there too. Now, Sundays are a little bit less busier than Saturdays. And naturally, I took advantage of this to steal a few employees from ZMF so I can finally ask them some questions without kind of disrupting their whole flow. The first person I spoke to was someone that goes by Lord Gwyn or Keenan, and he's the one who made the Aegis amp that I fell in love with.
So I have Keenan here, also known as Lord Gwyn online. He is the creator of the Aegis amp that I love so much I purchased last year. How many amp iterations did you do before this? Like, is this your first big launch, or what was before this?
Yeah, I mean, I spent a lot of time just experimenting with my own projects, and then for a while I was trading Zach in amplifiers for headphones and stuff, kind of just doing like custom work on the side. But I originally designed this as like a project that someone else could build. I wasn't sure if it was going to be like a DIY thing or like a commercial project. I thought it could be either one. So I was like bouncing it off Zach, and initially I released it as a DIY, but he really felt like this could be a commercial venture, so we kind of collaborated with them, with Kyan, and got it made. So. Oh,
I didn't know that they were involved with it as well. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it's my circuit design, and then Kyan had told Zach, hey, if you were interested, we could build you something, and then we kind of shared design ideas with them, and they were able to produce it. So. Sold through ZMF, but designed by me and then manufactured by Kyan, so it's kind of a three-way collaboration.
And this thing's heavy too, right? I bent the poles on my AV rack at home because I put it on top to show it off, and then I tried wheeling the rack, and I had other amps below it, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back. How heavy is this roughly?
It's around 46 pounds.
46.
Yeah,
So I'm weak. Got it. I thought it was heavier.
I mean, it feels a lot heavier, but like you don't realize how heavy 46 pounds is until
Yeah.
it's like concentrated into a little block like this. But you know, it does have a lot of iron, right? It has choke-loaded input stage, so there's 2 chokes there. Output transformers, obviously, plus the mains transformer. So, but you know, if your tube amp isn't heavy, then there might not be something.
Yeah. Now, this ships with a certain tube configuration. Do you recommend anyone, if they're getting into tube rolling, do you have like a series of stages or anything as far as upgrades or different sound profiles you like?
I mean, I can tell you that the output tubes I like most are the Tungsol 6550s. I like the RCA 5921 input tubes. And then for rectifiers, you can kind of do anything. It kind of just depends on your taste. But you can get a pretty much top of the line, like new old stock tube setup for like $500 or $600 max.
Sweet. So any intentions of making another amp down the road? This is obviously a hefty price tag for some people that are getting into tubes. It's
Right.
over $3,000. So as far as like anything from entry level to this, anything in the works?
Right now, I'm prototyping an OTL circuit. TBD on that. I'm not certain that's going to make it to market or not. Right now, it's just in the prototyping phase. But theoretically, that should be more reasonably priced. Part of what makes transformer couple amps so expensive is the transformers, right? So OTL, output transformer lists tend to be more reasonably priced.
Sweet. All right, man. Well, thanks. Good luck with the show.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks.
it.
Now, naturally, with a smaller company, you have people doing a lot of different roles. It's not like one person just does this and that. So one of the people I met there was Katherine, and she has her hands in a lot of the design aspects and choosing what kind of accessories and pieces to pull together to make each headphone creation, as well as some of the designs to bring to the show.
Okay, so I found out that you wear many hats at ZMF. You're not just here at shows, obviously. So what goes on, I guess, outside of the shows at ZMF, and what leads you to what you do here at the show before and after?
Yeah, a lot of what I do at ZMF is working with our CNC shop to collect all of the wood at our shop. And then a big part of my job is actually kind of helping decide what goes into production and getting orders out. One of my favorite things is actually helping with the specs for the headphones. So when something goes into production, I help decide, what grill we're going to put on it and what strap. So when the headphones end up coming to the shows, I don't know, it's kind of cool to see the headphone get sold and be like, oh, I remember who built that, and I remember choosing, olive grill cloth. So each headphone, I always say the headphones are like my children, but they genuinely are. So.
Do you use some of those decisions based off stuff you read from just people posting online, or just your own intuition, or where does that all come from?
Oh, totally. Each time we do a stabilized drop, usually we'll get a lot of emails afterwards with people saying, oh, do you have this one left over? So there's one a couple years ago that I named Utopia. I also helped name some of the headphones for the drops. And it was purple and blue with gunmetal, and it was very popular. And to this day, people still email asking for that headphone. So anytime our machine shop sends in that type of wood combination of colors, I try to make sure it looks similar to that model. So we actually sold one earlier today,
cool.
and I told the guy it was my favorite, and he let me take a photo of it to say goodbye. So
One final goodbye to her last child of that design. Nice. So does that mean, like, when I see Instagram posts online, because I see ZMF headphones on Instagram, there's all these photos of different drops and processes and stuff. Is that a lot of your doing kind of behind the scenes, or?
Yeah. We definitely work as a team, but a lot of that is kind of deciding, oh, this one looks really cool, let's make sure this one gets sanded, or, oh, we usually sell blue sets really well, let's make sure we're utilizing more blue resin and gunmetal and helping, make looks that I know people are going to enjoy.
Nice. Well, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
For some exhibitors there, it's not always smooth sailing, and I heard that a couple companies did not get all of their products in time for the demo. There were just logistical errors, and some stuff just goes missing. It's not like these companies are bringing all of their gear with them in a suitcase. They have to ship it and go through some kind of courier service. So I asked Bevin at ZMF if they ever dealt with anything like that too.
Okay, so we heard that a couple vendors had some missing shipments. Have you guys ever had the same issue, or how do you deal with logistics for something like that?
So we do several things. We bring our gear here in 3 different ways. Some of it comes on the plane physically with us. Some of it gets shipped via like FedEx, UPS, that sort of thing. And then some of it is palletized. So we kind of, don't roll the dice by putting everything in one bucket. So hopefully we'll have a little bit of something and can always make a show happen. Another thing is, one year our pallets, I got a call like the day before the show that the pallets got overlooked and were left in the warehouse. And we considered hooking them to the back of my Ford F-150 and driving them to Dallas ourselves. We didn't end up doing that. DHL came through for us. Thank you, DHL. But yeah, there's just a lot to think about distributing, a DAC, a DAP, cables, headphones amongst those 3 different shipping methods to make sure, even if we show up and something tragic happened, like in our backpack, we've got a small setup and a bouquet.
Nice. There you go. When stuff shows up, does it go to like the main lobby, or do they bring it to this area? Who brings all of that here?
Joe, that's a great question. At each show, it's different, so you have to kind of figure out what's going on. Here in Manhattan, because it's Manhattan, everything is kind of a premium. So there's a FedEx office on site. It gets delivered to them, and then you go and you pay the piper by weight again to FedEx to, get your packages, and then you haul them over here to your room. But like, for example, in SoCal, there's a FedEx office that's like, I don't know, maybe a mile from the venue. So we always get a rental car, drive over there, show your ID, hope your stuff is there, load up, bring it to the hotel, unbox. So it matters, like, the different venues, and you kind of get to know what the different logistics are.
Sweet. Good times.
Yeah. Sorry about the coffee breath in your face.
I like coffee.
At the end of day 1, I had to go grab Steven again to see what he thought about the show and how it was treating him so far.
All right, Steven, so it's almost the end of day 1. This is your first show. Compared to what you had in mind versus what actually happened, is it kind of the same thing, or is it any different?
A lot of what happened is what I was kind of expecting. I learned a lot about a lot of gear that I've never heard of before, and a lot about what people are looking for in our headphones, like as far as the curation of the tuning of each model, and what to get out of like different specs, like as far as the material of the driver and the damping and the tuning.
Have you seen certain models kind of get preferred, or people say certain comments about models that stood out to you? Like anything above the norm?
Yeah, the standouts for sure. We kind of expect the Atrium to sell. That's definitely our most popular. Atrium and the Boca. A lot of love for the Boca Open for sure. A lot of people were loving the Verite, which made me pretty happy because those are some of my favorites.
Oh, that's cool. That was going to be my next question if you had a favorite. So it's the Verite, huh?
Well, it depends.
Or one of?
Yeah, for sure. The Verite is really cool for rock music, which I will listen to anything with guitars in it. So, yeah.
Nice. You looking forward to tomorrow?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
And of course, I had to talk to Zach. And in this interview, I actually kind of asked him for some tips for those of you who might be going to a CanJam for the first time, maybe what to do or what to expect.
I have Zach here, the Z from ZMF. It's my favorite tagline whenever I cover stuff about Zach. You've done a lot of CanJams and a lot of different headphone shows. For a new attendee versus someone who's come to several, what do you recommend as like a tip or what they should try to experience?
Yeah, I think a new attendee, it's like, a lot of times you're seeing a lot of new amps and gear and new chains at the same time, so it can be hard to be like, is what I'm hearing the headphone, the amp, the DAC, the this, the that? So it's always good to bring a headphone with you that you're familiar with to take around the room, I think. Whether you're new or experienced, it doesn't really matter. Just so you can figure out, like, okay, this one variable is staying the same, and I can go around and hear the different chains, and then vice versa, like, finding a rig at the show that you're familiar with so you can hear the headphones that you want to listen to. Because that's just, getting that fatigue of hearing all the new stuff and figuring out, like, what is really tough.
Same applies, I guess, towards song choices, too, kind of picking stuff you're familiar with and not the normal run-of-the-mill audiophile demo song.
Yeah, and that's, something I definitely, it might make the experience more boring, not like it's less of a music discovery thing, because CanJams are so much about the gear.
Yeah.
So it can be good to have, like, hey, I got these couple tracks I'm really familiar with, and then, I think for me at least, and I don't know if everyone's like this, but the best music discovery happens, like, when you're at home in your like good, quiet Zen place. And that's the thing about CanJams is like, while they're awesome to find new gear, it's not a quiet Zen place. There's a lot of people around. There might be a guy behind you waiting to use the same rig you're on. You know, you're gonna be, this guy wants to get on this thing. So, yeah, that's kind of an element.
Any top picks, like if someone were to come in a ZMF room for the first time, is there somewhere that you would like to guide people where they would typically sit first, or you just kind of find open seat and just start giving things a whirl?
I think my main thing I usually tell people at a ZMF room is like, hey, you know, if you haven't heard of ZMF before, maybe the Auteur is a good one to go to. It just has a very balanced sound signature. Usually I try to keep them away from the Atticus because while I love the Atticus, it's super mid-bassy, and it like if that's what they hear and they're like, oh, I heard ZMF is warm, this is super bassy headphone, this is, you know, or sometimes they'll hear the Atticus and love it because they're like, I've never heard a headphone with this much mid-bass before. But as far as like what rig or anything, I don't really push them in any direct direction or anything like that. I usually like have them hear the Auteur, see what they think of it, and then I can push them towards a headphone based on their tastes. You know?
Gotcha. So you kind of adjust based off feedback from the first listen and find like the right pairing, basically.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing about our brand that's so confusing is that it's really easy to be like, oh man, they have these frontal meshes, they have these different pads, and like letting you know, hearing something, saying what you might want different, and letting us kind of guide you, like, because there's just not an infinite amount, but like hundreds of different sounds you can get from our lineup of headphones, and it's hard to figure out on your own, you know, and even to me sometimes overwhelming unless you let us guide you. And we're trying to make that more simplistic, and by doing tuning kits for all our headphones going forward, which should help.
Yeah, and you have, I know you've seen and added some stuff to the website too to help kind of explain some of the differences, like with the Caldera pads and how that impacted sound and things like that. So that's good. As far as the show itself, you've done a lot. Have your expectations changed over time? Do you kind of get in a rhythm where you know pretty much what to expect, or are you still getting surprised by new stuff at each show?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the interesting things about shows is that you go and you have the same rig there, and you can watch a number of people come up and listen to it, and you know, just seeing how different every person's HRTF is, so they'll hear different things on the same rig over and over, and so, you know, there's no one right statement to make on like how things sound. The same setup is going to sound different to all different people, and so I think, you know, I don't know that I'm like surprised by a lot of the headphone stuff, you know, but I think it's always exciting to hear the new gear, and it's exciting to see like people's reactions and stuff. And I think, you know, I'm looking to be shocked and amazed. So if you see me at a show, definitely say something crazy to me, and don't anything short of a cattle prod. Yeah.
You heard it here first, folks. No. Well, hey, thanks for your time. Thanks for having us here.
No,
we've really enjoyed it. So, yeah, appreciate it.
And that about wraps up the video. I wanted to do something a little different because it's easy to talk about a single product all the time, but this industry is so much more than that. It's about music. It's about the brands, the people behind the brands, our community, each other, all of these things combined that I think formed something that we all love. Those of you who are watching this video are probably into audio, and we share a lot of common interests. And I don't want us to ever lose touch with that. Don't always just focus on a product and nothing else. So I really hope this video helped kind of convey that well. And if you found it helpful, or if you're new to the channel, huge thanks for stopping by. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'd love to see you at the next one. Thank you so much for watching this and for your support. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
It's a flash.
The Human Torch was denied a bank loan. So is the F in ZMF Zach's fault? Like
Zach Maribach's fault. Yeah, people
that makes
have been
more
wondering
sense.
For years, I've lied about it for years. But
it makes
the truth
sense
is
now.
out, and you know, anyone who's ever reviewed a ZMF knows it.
You've heard it here first.
Yeah. Shot of you with that beautiful headphone. Smile, okay?
Which phone is that?
Samsung.
No, this one.
This phone.
It's a Samsung Galaxy. Lift. Use your legs. Use your legs.
Banana.
Kevin's making sure they don't trip and fall down.
Everyone leaves CanJam safe, you know. Everyone goes home.
Day 2 of CanJam, Steven just, so it's the same.
Nailed it.